Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 37 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone. Today, Chris and I have a great guest on with us, Josh Breckenye from AMZ Consulting Group. How's it going, Josh?
It's going good. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're excited to have you on. Uh, Chris and I were talking a little beforehand. We were talking to you about this. We're excited about the topic. We're going to talk about just creating amazing images for our listings. And you are the man to talk to because you have a really interesting background.
Thank you.
So before we dive into talking about Amazon listings, why don't you talk about a little bit about your background, what you did in your previous lives, and then talk about how you're helping Amazon sellers now with your new venture, AMZ Consulting Group.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you the cliff notes on it. So basically, I've always been an artist at heart. You know, I was always grew up painting and just creative. I just had that creative kind of mind from a little kid, and took advanced art classes in high school and everything like that. Took a couple intro to graphic design because I was like, well, I don't feel like me painting naked ladies is really going to pay the bills. It's cool to do as an art project or anything, but I need to, try and make a career out of it. So I took a couple of design classes and took an intro to graphic design class at my local community college after high school. And then I was delivering chicken. That was my job. I was delivering chicken. I delivered a big order of chicken to this guy one time at his house. And I'm like, yeah, what are you doing in there? I saw him doing something on a computer, and he's like, oh, I'm a graphic artist. And I'm like, oh, really? I'm taking a couple of classes. This is back when computers were really making the transition into graphic design. I mean, this is this would have been like year 95, about then. And so he's like, well, I'll come to my studio sometime, bring some of your work, and, I'll show you how it works and whatever. So I went over there, a couple sketches, and he put it into the scanning tray, scanned it, came up on the screen, and then he had an art tablet. I think he had an art tablet. And so then he starts drawing and showing me how basically you can take a drawing and then add color to it and take it off and put it on a different background, add type to it, and just really put together, so it's kind of cool because I got in on the ground floor of that. But also I kind of learned the traditional, cutting out Ruby and doing like burning screens and like all these kind of stuff, stat machines, and letter set, like where you would rub on the font, to make it stick to the page for your piece. I mean, I saw the as high as the old school went, and then I picked up right where the new school came on. And so I was like, pretty hip to that from the very beginning. So then from there, I then went home and bought myself a Power Macintosh 6100 system. I spent my life savings on it. I got the computer, I bought Illustrator, I bought Photoshop 3.0, and then I bought a scanner and a 2-speed CD-ROM drive, which was twice as fast as they normally were. So it was like top of the line. It's crazy. So then I basically locked myself in my room for the next year and a half and just taught myself everything. I had the books. There was no online at that point. And I was just teaching myself how to do it and just making mistakes and figuring it out and all that stuff. And I was, after my lucrative chicken delivery career, I got a job for Lexus and Land Rover. And I was delivering cars. I was like a porter. I'd wash cars and then take them and deliver them. So one of the guys I worked with was like, hey, man, he's like, you got to go deliver this car out in Simi Valley. But next door to this company is a little motocross shop, and it's called Stiffy. They do alphanumeric watercraft letter kits, right? They just do these sticker kits that they sell out. All the boaters it's a mandatory thing. You have to have these alphanumeric kits or these letters and numbers on your boat. So anyway, I went over there, introduced myself. I just walked in, just cold walked in, and I was just like, man, what do you guys do? Oh, we're getting into motocross. And it wasn't too far from my house. I told the guy, I said, let me make you a deal. I'm a graphic artist, junior level graphic artist, but if you pay me minimum wage and you give me a desk in the warehouse, I'll bring in my computer system from home. All I want to do, give me the opportunity, give me the shot, and you won't regret it. And I'll do all your business cards. I'll do all your t-shirts, all your stickers, all your separations, anything, catalogs, anything I could do. Like, let's do it. And he's like, hey, I like your initiative. I like it. Let's try it. Like, I don't have anything to lose, minimum wage, okay, whatever. And so I worked with him for like 2 years. And so by the time I left there, we had our own Supercross team that was touring around the country. We expanded all of our lines. We did, the company just blew up. It started going really, really well for them. And and so I remember leaving the first Anaheim. Anaheim 1 is the first race of the Supercross season, which is kind of like the big one. They do it at the Anaheim Stadium down where the Angels play and everything. And but our rider, Michael Brandis, got third place in that first race in the main. And, I'm seeing my stuff on ESPN2, and all my friends are freaking out. They're like, dude, your gear's like on TV. I'm watching it. Like, are you serious? And like, I did all their gloves, jerseys, pants, everything, the graphics kits on the bikes and everything. And so I was like, man, I made it. Like this is the end of the rainbow. Like, I was like so excited. And then from there, I got drafted by O'Neill Racing, and I went over and basically was the creative director for O'Neill Motocross for about 5 or 6 years. And then from there, I really got into learning how to design, build, and create products, like hard products, gloves, grips, goggles, glasses, everything, like hard parts. And that taught me a lot about just creating and dealing with overseas vendors and shipping and pricings and all this stuff. And hey, we don't want to use that. We want to use Kevlar for that. That's going to increase our cost, but we want to use ballistic nylon for this, and we want to use this injection mold for here. So I was doing that at a pretty early age, and so that was great. Super fun industry, going all over the place, all over the country to trade shows, and going to Vegas. For the end of the year race was always in Vegas, and that was just like. That was fun because I was hanging out with a lot of the writers too. And so going to like these kind of VIP backstage parties, as a young kid, I'm just like, oh my God, it was like a lot of fun. It didn't really pay the bills. It was fun, but it was like not really something. I was like, I kind of knew there was something else out there. And then through a friend of a friend, I met a guy named Christian Struzen. And his dad is the one that did all the art for the Indiana Jones movie posters, Star Wars, like world famous fine artist. But he did all that, the 80s kind of style posters. Like that's him. And his son had an agency where he was doing movie posters, and kind of same thing. I said, hey, give me a shot. Get me in, just get me in the door and you won't regret it, man. And so, this guy really took me into entertainment. And for me, and a lot of like graphic artists, kind of movie posters are kind of the end of it doesn't go much higher as far as print. You're getting global exposure on your stuff, and it's just you're getting so much, like millions and millions and millions of people are seeing your stuff now, and it was a really exciting industry. And then I worked for Christian for a couple of years. We're still friends. Really best artist, designer. I don't know. He's a great guy. And so then I just said, hey, Christian, I'm going to kind of shop my book around town a little bit. I'm going to go off on my own and just kind of freelance around. You can make $500 a day doing this. And like at the time, I didn't have kids at that point, and it was just like, hey, I'm rich. And so I was like, oh, this is cool. And so I kind of hopscotched around Hollywood. I worked for the last place that I worked at was a place called Works Advertising. And, I was kind of I was making my way up that industry and kind of getting groomed for like a creative director position eventually. I'm easy to work with. I don't have ego. I don't attach ego to any of my stuff still. Like, it's a lot of people are just like, whoa, and it's just like, dude, you're just in the business of solving problems visually, man. Like, don't get it twisted. So anyway, but I had kids and I was just like, this isn't something, it pays well, but it's also kind of not something that I want to sacrifice the amount of time that it would have taken. And so then I came back to my family's farm, and then I started my own Amazon FBA business. Just with some downtime that I had, I'm like, may as well keep using these skills. And so I learned how Amazon FBA works, and I already knew the product, a lot of how to build great products. And so yeah, and then I've been selling on FBA for about 2.5, 3 years now. I'm constantly working with other people to help them develop and launch their products, and to diversify now. We started, me and a partner started a separate business where we're helping them in all aspects of their Amazon listings. But what we start out with is images, and images, it's the bait to your crab trap. And
that's a good way of describing it. And
yeah, you can have the world's best trap, but if your images look no good, you're not going to get any crab in there, and it's all going to be for nothing. And it's funny because I look around Amazon, and I would say about at least 75% of the listings that I see could be done better visually. And I see a lot of mistakes they're making. I see how they're trying to work with some guy in Pakistan that's going to do them all for $50. And, it's just, you're losing a lot of sales. And Amazon now is getting so competitive that I'm kind of reverting back to the philosophy of like, you gotta optimize your listing as best as you possibly can. It's getting so competitive, and it's, you have to. I mean, you're just not, especially if you're trying to launch something new and you have 3 mediocre images, but this guy's making 20,000 a month on, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, you're way behind him. You're way behind him. It's like first to market is so huge in that game, and he beats you to the market, and you're playing catch up. And if you're trying to play catch up with half-ass images, man, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. And so I'm not a salesman. But I try to explain this to my clients. It's just like, I know it's going to be a little bit of an investment, but it's also one of those things where once you have it once, you really don't need to touch it. If you do it right the first time, you can kind of get it set up and then let it just sit there in the background and just trickle money and move on to the next idea. Get 10 of those things in your background, just dripping away, and you're going to do well in this space. So a lot of people get it. A lot of people don't. They just want to, they just see that upfront investment as like, oh, I can get it cheaper. And it's like, you can, but it's not going to deliver the results. You're tripping over dollars to pick up dimes.
Well, we have so many questions about listings because Chris and I talk to sellers all the time. They're coming to us at Solozo for advertising needs. And that's the first thing we do is look at their listing. Mm-hmm. If the listing's bad or not, or it could be better, we will tell them you're not going to start advertising yet. You're going to waste your money.
Right.
And so I'm excited to talk to you about just all the different things we can do to improve listings.
Sure.
Your background is fascinating. It's
the fried chicken, huh?
You got all that design experience, the graphic design experience, whether in Hollywood. You were showing me, you can talk about a lot of really famous movies that I've seen, some of my favorites. You've just for.
Yeah, I did like the Hangover teaser campaigns. I've done, the Incredible Hulk is all me, and yeah, I've done.
Awesome.
There's a lot. There's a lot of them. If you go through there, I still see them on Netflix. They'll roll by every once in a while. Due Date, that new one, Jonah Hex, like Semi Pro with Will Ferrell. Yeah, I was in the belly of the beast.
I'm on your site. amzcg.com. That's the website out there for all you guys listening. amzcg.com.
Yeah.
These pictures here are amazing. Like, I'm looking at all his photos, the packagings that he's done, these 3D renderings, A+ content, like these type of quality that you see here. This is what sellers need to do. They need to make their listing stand out. And now, like you just mentioned earlier, you just can't throw up a photo. You can't take a photo and just throw it up there and think it's going to work. And to Dustin's point, that's why we talk to sellers daily. The first thing we do is look at their listing, because if they're going to run ads on their product and they have very low quality images, it's not going to work. It's just a waste of money. And so the first thing we'll do is say, go get better images. You need better images. You need better titles. You need better bullet points, A+ content, register for brand registry. Like, all that stuff is important, because when you start to run ads, you're going to reap the benefits of that. Yeah. But I would encourage you guys out there listening, go to his website, amzcg.com, and just look through his portfolio. You'll see some really cool photos and some really cool 3D renderings. So the work speaks for itself.
Thank you. I don't know if you guys saw I have a personal website too, if you want to just check out the movie poster stuff, and I have my motocross stuff up there too, some of it. So I don't know.
What's that website? Let everybody know so they can see that.
It's called GraphicOne, GraphicOne.com.
Yeah, this is what you were showing me the other day, and there's some really cool. I mean, if you look at the theatrical tab on there and you see the movies posters that he's done, you'll recognize a lot of them.
Yeah,
it's cool. And this is another thing. This can help us go and talk about the images now, but it's so interesting in the world of selling on Amazon. You have to have two different mindsets. You have to have the creative, the artistic, the visual, how to appeal to the customer. That's like a totally different side of your brain, as opposed to the super analytical, digging into like the data and the keywords, and there's no real emotion or anything there. It's just straight data. There's two different sides, and so usually a lot of people are good at one or the other.
Right.
I'm much more on the. I don't like to dig down into the weeds that much in data.
Me too. I mean, that's what that's kind of what the whole purpose of AMZ CG was because I'm, and I don't pretend to be a jack of all trades, and anybody that says that they can handle every single aspect of Amazon, I know every blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. Like, you don't. And so what we did with AMZ CG is we hooked up with an incredible 3D rendering person. We have an incredible video person. We have an incredible photographer. I do personally the retouching on the images, because that's what I'm really good at. I'm good at doing like A+ content layouts and things like that. But we farm out like our PPC probably everything that comes in to us that way is we're gonna, because that's your guys' wheelhouse. And it's like, I think Amazon is like just a chain, and if there's one weak link, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so you need to have like these vetted vendors out there that can basically, take over the aspect. And so I take, my client will come to me, and then I'll say, okay, we're going to have this guy that I trust, that's domestic, easy communication, trustworthy expert. And it's a vetted thing. And you can go run around and do all that yourself. But, there's so many other things to worry about with your Amazon listing. It's worth your time and money to just pass it off to people that can kind of delegate out these certain responsibilities. And it's just going to make everything better. It's just going to make it so much easier. And it's so competitive now. And it's like, okay, well then, if you want to go spend 4 weeks and go spend $2,000 on a course and go through all the stuff that, I've done, go ahead. It's like, you're going to beat your head against a wall, and then you're going to end up coming back because you're going to have missed some little check mark somewhere, or some not understand how an auto campaign works compared to a manual, and you're not going to understand long tail versus, like, there's so much stuff to know, and you don't want to waste time. You want to take your idea and get it done. Boom, boom. I mean, we work fast. We try and work as fast as we can. And that's just a win. It's better for everybody if that's how you do it, I think, my personal opinion.
So just touching on the images now, let's focus on that.
Okay.
What, in your opinion, what makes a high quality image? What makes what are the aspects that you look for? What are the things that you do to make sure that these images really convert on the listing?
Yeah. What I start off with is pretty much photography studio. And then I know, like, my guy shoots with a really, a $10,000 camera, and he knows how to he knows that photography is nothing but light manipulation and capturing that perfectly. And so when he's kind of approaching it from that philosophy, and then he's got the proper equipment to actually capture it and give me a really good base for where I can take that image that he took, and then I can just make it, like, I'll take it off the page and then put a different background or reshadow it or something. Amazon, as you know, with the clean, everything has to be on these clean white backgrounds for your first shot. And then I basically just make it look amazing and render it, then I'll render it out at 2000 by 2000 pixel square, and I'll usually render it a little higher, at least like a 150 DPI on it, because 72 is like the standard web resolution or whatever. But people are using like 4K monitors now and stuff, and I've noticed that even like the 72 doesn't have that, like, just little sharpness to it that it makes a big difference. And you can see, and poor like quality or poor lighting, or somebody that just takes an iPhone picture, that's your product there, but it's not like eye candy. And I'm into making like eye candy. And one of the most exciting things that's really starting to get popular, that we're getting really excited about, is 3D renders. And using those 3D renders for your at least your main image. Like, it's the difference is, like, if you have ever worked with vector graphics compared to just regular DPI graphics, and like a vector is that real sharp edges. You're instead of you doing pixel information, you're doing actual areas with fills. And it makes a really, really high, sharp resolution thing. Well, 3D is kind of like that same difference with photography, where you can get just amazing lighting. You can make your images just look really slick and glossy. I've seen side by side of like a really good picture, and then a side by side of the same thing but 3D rendered, and 3D rendered always has that like eye appeal. It makes it look just so much better. And another huge advantage to doing the 3D is, once you pay the person to basically build your 3D model, if you want that product but shot a little differently or something, you don't have to go set the whole thing up in the studio again. And so, that's a half day setup, like maybe to get that shot or whatever. It's gonna be a couple hours, and it's gonna be quite a bit of money. But with a 3D rendering, once it's already in there, all she's got to do is get a different angle and just re-render the same wireframe. And so you don't have to set up studio time again. And talk about like cost savings and trying to match too. Like, if you did a photo shoot on 2 separate days, it's really hard to get the things consistent. And consistency is another thing that's really important all the way throughout your listing. It's going to make it look like a professional brand. Everything's going to match. That's what you want. And people are visual animals, and they search for your thing on Amazon, and what do? They scroll and they're looking with their eyeballs to see which one jumps out. And if there's 15 other people that you're competing with, the one that looks better is going to get that, that initial, checkout. Like, they're probably going to visually check it out, and then the second thing is going to be your review count. I think that's your, lifestyle. Lifestyle is another thing that's really important, and I see a lot of people that aren't doing enough lifestyle. It's a little bit more expensive if you're going to have to hire models and everything. Every product's different, but that's another one. That's a lot of social proof, I think, to see some, good looking model, that's holding up your stuff or drinking out of your cup or whatever. It makes it look like it's a tangible product that, I can have this too, kind of thing. So lifestyle infographics is another one where you're showing the benefits of yours compared to the others. You're showing measurements, scale, just whatever kind of information. You see a lot of people that aren't taking advantage of the limited 9 spaces that, Amazon gives you. And then the brands, I see a lot of brands that can do A+, they're not. And that's a great way to tell your company's story. It gives you authenticity. It's Amazon's very limited about what they'll let you kind of put out there. And so when you have an opportunity like A+ to really tell a story, or really, you can do anything with A+. You got to fit their size constraints a little bit. But I mean, their modules, you can stack their modules however you want and really create something that's really nice that other people aren't doing. And this is the future here of commerce. It's already here, and it's like the people that can get this through their heads sooner than later are the ones that are really going to succeed.
Yeah, and these aren't just images for just your Amazon listing. Like, you could use these images for your websites, for social media. Yeah. So this is like an investment that people need to take serious, because they're going to be able to use this for more than just Amazon. So I always harp on, like, you need better images, because no one reads bullet points, really. I mean, they're just going through the title, they're catching maybe a few words in there, and then they're going straight to the images. Mm-hmm. One thing I want to ask you is, like, what's something that sellers can do now that is super easy, that's affordable, maybe even like cheap for them to accomplish now, that maybe take them 10 minutes? What's something they could do now when they go to their listings?
I would say make sure that your images are all 2000 by 2000. I don't know. I mean, the algorithm is a closely guarded secret and everything, but it seems to me that, whenever I'm looking at listings, the listing quality score always goes up when you have images that you can mouse over and it'll zoom in on them, and it's good quality. I might at least scale what you got up to that. That's the advantage of starting out high. It's always better to start high and then have to compress down, because when you try and go down to up, that's when everything gets blurry and mushy and doesn't look great. So I would start with that.
That's a good point. And I think that's something that a lot of people, the zoom that you're talking about, I think that gets forgotten about a lot, because you can load a picture and it'll look great in that little thumbnail spot, but you hover over and it blows way up.
Yeah.
And if it's all granular and blurry, then it's terrible. And I think I see that all the time on listings. Where it's
I would also make sure that they had all 9 images. I would make sure that you don't just have like 2 or 3. Well, that's what the product is, and blah, blah, and they don't take it any further. But the lifestyle, the infographics, like whatever you have to do. I mean, one mistake I see a lot of sellers making is, again, trying to save money, but they're paying people to basically take stock images and do bad Photoshop work to try and make the person look like they're holding their product or something. They'll try to do like some fake Photoshop thing, and you can see it in the shadow, how it's, that's not supposed to be there. It's not exactly from the same perspective. So I can spot it, boom, like this. And I think it's actually, when people start seeing that stuff, I think it's actually repellent. I think it actually hurts you. You got to make that look natural in the scene, and if it's not, I wouldn't even bother with it. I would actually shoot it, real lifestyle. But I'm pretty good at photoshopping stuff into, I mean, that's what I've been doing. So like, all those posters and everything that you see, everybody's got a different head, and I put an arm on this guy, and I took this behind, and like, I just would hack apart these things and then put them all together and make a movie poster out of it. So that's kind of what I've been doing, but I can see it from a mile away. And I think it can hurt you if it looks really cheesy, like, oh, come on, man. Like, I see this a lot, like like if you're looking on products on Ollie or something, they try and do that a lot. And it's like, oh, like that's so bad.
It's true. It makes you look fake.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They say, oh, they probably don't even have these in stock. Like they probably just Photoshop this together, and then if they get enough orders, then they'll get around to make, like, it just, that goes through people's heads. And you look at something like, like with Apple, like, all of their stuff is just glassy and just so ultra clean and all that stuff. And it's just, I mean, that's confidence. People see that and they know, they're just like, oh my gosh, packaging, I think it's good to show, like, I think the importance of packaging is only to maybe, like, nobody cares because nobody's in a store buying, stuff off Amazon, right? So it's like the packaging doesn't really matter, but it also, like, if you do some really good 3D renderings and stuff and show what your packaging looks like, it's more confidence. You're just trying to convince people that you're really legit, and they're going to have no problem willingly make you this transaction, this trade.
Yeah, images are so important. You just can't underscore that. It is the most important thing for your listing, without question. Yeah. I have one more question for you. Sure. In those 9 spots that you have on Amazon for your listings, how do you have an order that you typically go, like where you have the product and then you have lifestyle and then infographic, or flip, or is there a way to tell the story the best way of your product in order?
Personally, I think that it's best, you got to start with the white background image. TOS is saying now that, like, you can't even like put a splash behind your container because that splash isn't included with your product. So it is your product on a white background with a shadow. A lot of people don't even bother to put the shadows. They just hack it out and stick it there. And I'm like, don't forget about the shadow, man. That's your perspective. Don't do that. But a lot of people do that. But I usually would go like white background first image, 2 more white background, maybe perspectives or showing the whole set or something. I would do two to 3 white, and then I would start getting into a lifestyle, an infographic, and then just doing maybe a couple infographics. And I mean, every product's different. Some are so simple that it's like, man, how am I going to make 9 images out of this, little fidget spinner? Like how many times can I show this or whatever? But, another one of the guys that we work with is making these killer videos. Like if you go to AMZ CG and look at our video section, he's a local guy that we work with. He's good friends with my photographer. And I started looking at his stuff, and he's, he'll go out and shoot, and then he'll edit these things all together, take it into After Effects and Premiere and After Effects. And he's making these little 30-second videos that, like you said, you can push those videos all over Instagram. And I think video is like it's 3D and video. They're giving, if you got a brand, then you can put a video up there. And those videos, man, I mean, talk about visual storytelling. And, if the product, if it fits, it's a good fit for the product. It's well worth the investment, because you can put that link anywhere on your website, or, and I don't know. It's one of those things where people are watching more and more and more video, and this thing is just getting crazier and crazier.
What's the process look like for a seller? They find you, they come to you, they, hey, I want to get some photos. What's that process? Do they have to ship a product in? You just need some images to work with? What's that look like?
Yeah, if they're doing photos, they usually just send me the product. After we'll have a conversation about what your goals are and what you're thinking. We'll make sure the pricing's fine and everything's squared away on that front. Then I would take the product down to my photographer. He shoots it. I retouch it. They can get a couple revisions. Usually there's not really any revisions because they're like, oh, well, that's it perfectly 3D on a white background, and that looks amazing. Like, wow, thank you. And it's usually kind of one of those things. It's, and everybody's different, and some people, like I have a client right now who I'm just gently, a lot. This is a passion project too for a lot of people, right? And so you wouldn't want to have somebody come and start talking crap about your t-shirt company or so, oh man, you should do this and blah, blah, blah. Like I don't ever try that. I say, okay, well, why are you here in the first place? What are you looking for? And this is just a conversation and like a business relationship. Because if it works out and they're happy, they're going to come back to you. They don't want to have to go on Fiverr every time and just be like, okay, who is this new guy and blah, blah, blah. It's so much better to have these like working relationships. Like we're all just trying to kind of, build up this kind of, I don't know, just work together as much as possible and, help them. They're going to, like I did the A+ content for this girl I was telling you about. And she's like, oh my gosh, this looks so amazing. Like, this is perfect. And I'm like, okay, well, I was looking through your listing and I just noticed that it looks like you're, like you guys have a little, like in your warehouse or something, you've set up a little studio with the lights and you're taking your iPhone and snapping pictures of it like that. And I'm like, let me just tell you that you're competing against Bath and Body Works. Okay. And because they sell like these really awesome lavender candles. They're up in, Oregon, and it's a great product. The family story is amazing. The dad bought some land up there, and then not long after passed away. And the wife is there with her 4 daughters. I think there's 3 or 4 daughters, and they're like, "What do we do? This is Dad's dream." And so they started a farm, and I can relate to that because I'm, my family has a farm as well, and so. That great story. And so they started this Amazon business where they started making these lavender candles, and it's like doing really well. Like their numbers are like, it's like made in the USA. People want to support them, but I use their A+ content to kind of really tell the story about their family and all that stuff. And that and people, it kind of like, if you read it and if you go through it, like it makes you want to like help them and support them and stuff like that. So I'm like, this is a very powerful thing that you're telling me. So I'm going to incorporate this story into your graphics. And this is what Bed Bath & Beyond, or Bath and Body Works. Like nobody wants to like help those guys. They like their candles, but they don't have like they're like, all right, you guys still have the best candles. But like, but I'm like, all right, for us to compete against these guys, we really need to have really, really strong images and be able to like tell that story visually to them. And I bet you it's going to do good. And I talked to her the other day. She's like, oh, it's working great. And, they want us to come back and do their A+ content for their other brands, or not other brands, but their other products. And, it's just this working relationship. So it's like, it's cool because you get to help people, solve their problems, and, just giving these people sales is helping them keep their farm. And how awesome, how much cooler is that than doing movie posters? I mean, for me, like I'm not helping anybody by doing, the new Saw poster or something, like whatever. Like that's fun and, it's cool and it gets a lot of exposure, but this is helping people. I don't know. I just get a lot more satisfaction out of this.
I like how you say we, like like you're involved with it. Some people just say, you as a seller, you need to do this. But when you said the word we, it just like you're looking at it as a team.
Yeah,
That sounds cool. I like how you say that.
Yeah, they trust you. You're not going to get that from some dude on Fiverr. You're not. I mean, they're not gonna. It's not gonna. Things aren't gonna translate. And like we're talking about like real, real kind of specific, fine little things like where you can really find an angle. Like, hey, let's appeal to people's hearts with your story. What you just told me was an amazing story. Like let's use that for your A+, and give them a little story. If I saw that and didn't just buzz by it and read it, like I would be like, oh man, I mean, it would make me probably convert on their sale. So just so I help them. So,
I like, it just brings up a good point. Well, first of all, I love your passion. You're passionate about it. That's what makes this whole business fun, is that, I mean, that's what Chris and I love about this business. It's there's a game to it. You're trying, it's competitive. You're trying to get the best images, the best products, the best listings. And it's really fun to like work as teams together because everyone's got different strengths. But I love your passion about it, what you're doing. And I also like the tip about using A+ content to tell your story on top of the story of the product, which I think is I'm sure Chris did the same thing when we were starting. It was really common when you communicated with the buyer or like the buyer seller feedback or messaging, I say, we're a small business, small family business. If you could leave a review, that would really help our small business out. It kind of engendered that camaraderie. You're not Amazon. You're not behemoth. You're a story. So I think it's fascinating that you talk about that for A+ content, because I think that could be a big win in terms of competing against the big brands.
Yeah.
For everyone that's listening and they're sold on you and what you're doing, because I know we are. How can they get in contact with you? How do they get in touch with you to get started working with you?
The best way is just go to AMZCG, AMZ, Amazon Consulting Group, AMZCG.com, and then contact, fill out the form or just send us Josh at AMZCG.com too. That's another, just directly. You want to just shoot me an email. Always willing to talk. And get to know you, get to know your brand, get to know your story. Maybe me do a little research into your competition. I'm competing in this space too, and I know how to see a winner when I see it, and I know a loser when I see it. And there's way more losers than there are winners. And things have to fit through like a certain filter system. And some products are great for it, and some are just like, oh man, you didn't go buy 10,000 garlic presses, right?
Oh, that's funny.
Lightning sale.
Yeah, lightning sale coming. Liquidate. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Well, Josh, thanks so much for coming on. That was a ton of knowledge.
Cool.
And everyone out there, go to amzcg.com.
Cool.
I know that Chris and I will be reaching out to you potentially about some other stuff, some listing as well. Love it. I'm fascinated by the 3D. That's something I don't have that I need to do to my product. So it's been fun. Josh, again, thanks so much for coming on. Everybody out there, thanks for listening. Follow us on Facebook or the Solozo page. You can like us to our live videos. Subscribe to the podcast and leave us a nice review on the podcast. and then go see Josh.
Yeah,
All right,
cool.
have a great day. We'll be back at this tomorrow. See ya.